You know, a lot of these gurus out there, they act like their peak week is like something magical, you know, some secret. You know, it's a secret. I've got the secret to getting you dry. Let me ask if that secret sounds anything like the following. Early in the week, you train depletion workouts, you load sodium, you load water, you cut carbs, and then later in the week, you cut water, you cut sodium, you load carbs, you load potassium, you add a diuretic, and you stop training. Is that ringing any bells? Probably is. And what's the result of that? Let me ask you this. How many times have you heard, man, I looked like crap a week out, but that peak week fixed everything and I looked awesome? Crickets. But how many times have you heard, man, I looked so great a week out, but I looked like crap on show day. I couldn't get a pump. I wasn't full. What happened?
I honestly never really saw myself competing in bodybuilding, which is not because I don't love the art of bodybuilding. It's more because, first and foremost, I'm a lover of health and fitness. And I believe that health and fitness should go hand in hand. And when it comes to bodybuilding competition, it's objectively pretty unhealthy. Like bodybuilding on its own, just as like an endeavor, you know, build some muscle, keep your body fat in check, that's perfectly healthy. That's great. But bodybuilding competition, whether you're doing it enhanced or even natural, it's not the healthiest thing. And that's largely because even at like just a base level, when you're competing in bodybuilding, you got to get your body fat levels down to levels that are not going to be the most healthy for the average individual. And then, of course, you have the weight fluctuation to go along with that, which is not healthy. So at a baseline, just with that in the question, not the healthiest thing. But there are, of course, other things that go along with it that are not the healthiest, and some of which we're going to get into in this video. So why did I decide to compete? Well, honestly, it largely just has to do with the fact that I'm a personal trainer and I would like to coach people in bodybuilding. And so I want to be somebody who has the actual in-field experience. And I'd also like to see if there are ways in which you can make this a healthier thing. And after doing this little experiment, I think that there are. But again, we'll get to that in a little bit. So being somebody who has never really had aspirations to compete in bodybuilding, I'm not as familiar with some of the things that bodybuilders do to prepare for the competition outside of, you know, I know how to build muscle, I know how to burn fat, but like, what do you do in those weeks leading up to the show? Is there anything specific that you do? And there's this thing called peak week, which is a very, very common practice amongst bodybuilders. And essentially, in that final week before your show, there are certain things that you can do to peak your body and make it just that much more impressive. Again, you want to approach that week looking as, you know, your best. You know, the week before the show, you want to look really good. You want to be very conditioned. But then again, there are things that you can do, allegedly. Again, I was just trusting the process. But there are things you can do. They're going to take your physique to that next level and make it look its actual best. But, you know, I'm a lover of health and fitness, as I specified. And I know that anything you can do in a quick period of time that's going to bring about noticeable results, it's not going to be healthy. It's going to be something extreme. It's going to be some kind of crash protocol. But I was just trusting the process, being the explorer that I claim to be. So what is often done in peak week is for the first part of the week, the first several days, you take on a very low carbohydrate diet, sort of like a keto approach. Along with that, you're also upping your water dramatically. So you're peeing a lot. You're getting rid of water that way, but then also cutting the carbs is going to help your body get rid of water because carbs make your body hold a lot more water. So that's the first part of the week. And then usually like that Friday, Saturday being show day, that's where you do kind of the opposite of what you've been doing all week long. So instead of keto and a lot of water, you're doing carbs and pretty much no water. You know, you're getting rid of a lot of your water weight during the week, but then at the end, you almost cut your water completely to help your body dehydrate further, and then your skin is going to really fit tight and close to your muscles. You're going to look really dry. At least that's the idea. And then you're also carbing up because your body is just going to take in those carbs into the muscles. It's going to fill them up, make them look nice and juicy. But the carbs that are often recommended that you take in are going to be like the simplest carbs, and it's not like healthy carbs. It's usually a bunch of shit, a bunch of garbage. And that was what I did. I ate a bunch of candy and Pop-Tarts and just really, really garbage foods.
I don't think that's enough. We need more.
Not quite. You're right. And especially you want to lean into drier carbs, especially the closer you get to competition. And, what are dry carbs? It's things like rice cakes and dry cereal and, even candy, just things that are not going to have, bring a lot of water into the body. Because again, you're trying to stay dry. Just a quick note from the editor. I completely forgot to mention that another part of the peak week protocol is cutting your sodium down. So around the time that you're also going to be reducing your water and carbing up, you want to be cutting your sodium, but then you'll often bring more sodium into the equation on show day. But anyway, back to the video. But I must say that in the weeks leading up to peak week, I'd say like the month prior to going into that peak week, I really felt like I was very confident in the way that I look. And I had coworkers, friends, and again, even myself, feeling as though I could step on stage right now and probably do very well. And this is oftentimes, no tan, no pump, feeling ready to go. But again, I was trusting that process and thinking like, I feel good, I feel confident, but this peak week thing is going to bring me that much closer to excellence. But man, I personally feel the opposite. Now, this isn't to say that peak week completely sabotaged me, because I'm happy with the result of the show for the most part, but I must stress again that I think that what I did actually ended up hurting my physique, and it also made me feel like complete shit, and made it so the being at the competition was not even a fraction as enjoyable as it probably would have been otherwise. Because these peaking protocols, it made it so I didn't sleep very well. And of course, I'm taking in these dirty, shitty carbs that I never eat. And my body is just like, what are you doing, Tom? Like, we don't do this. We know we don't do this. And now I'm going from never doing it to just doing it in an extreme case, along with also being dehydrated, which I must stress, if you take nothing else away from this video, I actually did a devoted video prior to posting this one. The dehydration was the worst part, hands down, of my entire bodybuilding prep. Oreo O's, haven't had those in probably 20 years. So here we are. All I really want is water still. Oh. All I want is water. Still, all I want is water. Like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that so many bodybuilders take this on as a part of their protocol. It's mind-blowing because, of course, it's unhealthy, but it also just makes you feel freaking terrible. Oh my goodness, like, it's going to sound overly dramatic, but I'm not trying to be dramatic for the sake of social media here. I really felt like I was going to die. Oh my God. Now I'm alive. I felt like I was on death's door. It's like, a very basic human need is water, staying hydrated, and intentionally dehydrating your body. Oh my goodness. And again, I must say, I think I looked better prior to doing any of this stuff. Like, it made it so my body was just overly stressed. I couldn't sleep. My mouth hurt because you're dehydrated, and then you're also eating all these dry carbs. So my mouth is just all cut, and I'm trying to sleep, and I'm like, how in the hell am I going to sleep in this condition? I already have sleep problems, and this is going to make it just that much worse. I don't know. I maybe slept, if I'm lucky, 4 hours, but probably 3, possibly even 2. Tried not to pay too much attention to it, but eating a rice cake with some peanut butter and jelly. And the thing too about what I did during peak week, and again, especially the carb up and dehydration at the end there, it's not like once you're done with that, you're done with that. It's like there's potential repercussions, and I definitely dealt with those, which my body just, once I reintroduced fluids into my life, my body just attacked. And, you know, I'm sure something to do with all the cortisol from, you know, not sleeping, loading my body up with just pure garbage, the stress of being dehydrated. Like, my body attacked. My body freaking attacked. And the amount of water weight I stored pretty much overnight was terrifying. And, you know, I dealt with repercussions of that for like the next week and a half. And my dumbass signed up for a bodybuilding show after the first one. So, you know, I did my first bodybuilding show, but I had to sign up for this other bodybuilding show. The deadline was before I was going to complete that first one. And I was, you know, it was recommended that I do more than one show while I'm stage ready. Otherwise, I might regret it. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll sign up for this other show. And my body was fucked by, you know, the repercussions from that first show and that peak week, all that stuff carried all the way over to that next week. And I almost didn't even compete. I was embarrassed to step on stage, but I stepped on stage nevertheless. So moral of this story is peak week was a nightmare. It was something that I kind of can't believe I was so trusting in, because I'm a smart enough guy. I know what is healthy. I know what is unhealthy. And again, going into this knowing that bodybuilding competition is not the healthiest thing already, that shouldn't mean that I should just accept all the unhealthy things that could go along with it. And after having done all this too, and being so mad about doing the peak week, I come to find that there's this subset of bodybuilding culture that is actually very against peak week and think that it's not necessary, it's unhealthy, it's dangerous.
I always tell people I'm not a big fan of huge manipulations in peak week. Why? Because I'm not a big fan of sacrificing 50% to try to get 5%. Or even more like sacrificing 50% to try to get 2%. You've got to be shredded. If you're not shredded heading into peak week, it's not going to matter what you do. Sure, little subtle fluctuations can make a difference. But I've seen more people screw up great physiques doing drastic things in the last week because they thought there was some secret.
It's simply just not worth it in the grand scheme of things, and I would much rather see a lot more competitors drinking water backstage. I don't want to see people with their lips getting stuck to their teeth on stage. It's really a sad thing that happens in this community way too often when you see people getting hospitalized and getting sick and not having fun on show day. I've depleted water before, and I'll tell you, it feels like death. And if you can't enjoy yourself on show day, there's something wrong with that too, right?
And I will say that I am now one of those people. I do not recommend peak week for the average person. You know, maybe in, like, I actually do plan to compete again. I actually do plan to compete again, believe it or not. I'm actually kind of hungry for it because I would like to find ways to make this whole bodybuilding competition thing healthier. And part of that, I think, is going to be promoting a peak week less prep. I think that if I had just been doing everything the same up until show day pretty much, I would have been better off. You know, maybe I could have done some sort of carb up situation because that does make some sense, but did it have to be these dirty, shitty carbs? Probably not. Really just wanted to get this message out that I think when it comes to bodybuilding, why make it any less healthy than it already is? Especially when it's probably not going to be that necessary. I mean, maybe I'm the anomaly here, but I doubt it because, again, there's a lot of bodybuilding culture that's actually against peak week, which is something that I wish I'd stumbled upon prior to taking it on myself. But that's really what I wanted to say here. There's more coming in regards to my first bodybuilding show. I have more things to say. I have a pretty detailed vlog that I did while out in Florida getting ready for the competition and all that. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you. Have a great night. Stay healthy. I wish you all health and happiness. Good night, good day, whatever it is for you. Bye-bye.